Battlefield Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Ole aka ChalkOne from Battlefield Podcast alongside Peekaboo Bang for another episode of His and Hers. And this one, we're not talking about basic tactics or our favorite loadouts or anything. We're talking about some news, but not just reporting news, because there's plenty of that out there already. And Battlefield Hardline has been, I guess they could say announced, but it hasn't really announced. It has leaked and then they scrambled to announce it very quickly.
Yeah, they threw up a splash page and, basically let you sign up for a newsletter and saying that there's going to be more at E3, which I think we're all definitely waiting to see what they bring to E3.
June 9th, they'll have, probably a reveal trailer or something and more information. It was funny because it all started with somebody finding some code in Battlelog.
Yeah, it was a Battlelog update that got fluked somehow, or...
Somehow somebody noticed code and noticed stuff for Hardline and noticed some images for like weapons and badges and shit like that. And it was like, oh my God, there's a new Battlefield game.
Which we all kind of knew this was coming. We knew it was a police-themed game. We knew it was coming in the fall. We just didn't really know much about what they codename it, Havana, until, the recent leak or whatever, so...
Havana and Omaha, which came up before as well, which it turns out seems to have been the actual internal, probably project code name for this.
Probably.
I don't know how people find stuff like that on Battlelog, but it's kind of interesting.
Way too much time on their hands, if you ask me.
I guess, yeah. So, like you said, they scrambled, they set up a page. It's being built or developed by Visceral, those are the guys that made the Dead Space games.
Yep. And a lot of 007 games. Did they? Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of 007 games.
I did not know that. Now, the Dead Space games were pretty good for their single-player campaigns.
I enjoyed them.
Yeah. And this is going to have single-player and multiplayer. So, I don't know. Do we want to just give a bit of an overview of what we know? So, we know it's coming out in the fall. Mm-hmm. We know we'll find out more day 3. We know that there was a gameplay trailer leaked today, but people were all up in arms. And that looks like crap and blah, blah, blah. But somehow they missed the big notice at the bottom of the screen that said this is internal confidential thing.
Yeah, that's always interesting. And people were throwing stuff up on YouTube and I think they went a little crazy with it, but...
Really bad idea when it says do not distribute from EA to put that on your YouTube channel. But, and they've all been taken down now. But basically that video to me seemed like it was like an internal promo video. Almost something that you as a developer show to like the EA execs. Like, here's what we're working on. This is what that's going to be.
Right.
Just as an update kind of thing. Because it was just one guy talking and explaining, which was actually really useful as a leaked trailer because it had a lot of information in it. The head guy of Visceral Games went on Twitter earlier today, officially announcing Battlefield Hardline and saying like, yeah, this isn't how we planned to announce it, but it's there now. And at least they're doing, what else are they going to do? It's out there. It's not like they can just deny it and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. This isn't happening. Yeah.
So, I don't think that's how anyone imagines the announcement of their game going or, anything like that. I'm sure they were trying to wait for something at E3.
Yeah. Well, that is the big thing. And we knew that there was going to be an unannounced shooter from EA this fall.
Yeah.
And the rumors had all been there. So it's not really a surprise. I think some people were maybe a little bit annoyed at the use of Battlefield as part of the title for it. But when you look at it, and we can't put any of the footage in here, so if you haven't watched the trailer, Google it, you'll probably still find it somewhere. But it's Battlefield 4's engine, it's Frostbite 3 or whatever.
You can see clearly a lot of the elements in it with the Levolution effects, and then also just, some of the other graphic effects I've seen. Yeah, the way that the guns work and visually, it looks like Battlefield,
Yeah. And so, like you said, it's sort of a cops and robbers themed, like the two quote-unquote teams are thieves and SWAT, I think is what they were called in one of the graphics I saw.
Yeah. I think that was, I think I've also seen that in some of the somebody found some metal images of some of their awards and stuff like that. So I think those were the two factions, I guess you would call them in the game.
And it's going to be urban American-based maps from the sounds of it. And there's a lot of similarities that have been drawn to games like Counter-Strike, because there's a money system involved somehow to like get weapons. You purchase them similar to Counter-Strike. And of course, Payday, because the whole cops and robbers type thing, heists, is one of the game modes. Obviously, that's a big Payday.
I think you have to be very careful with the parallels that you draw from, elements of other games pulled into a new one or something else into a franchise that we all know and love. So I've seen that too. People, pieces. Right, and people already saying, "Oh, it looks so Payday 2," and it's like, well, you can't really say that much. There isn't that much out there to talk about. Number one, number two, I mean, yeah, anytime you have a similar type of setup where you have, people heisting things or this cop and robbers feel like, yeah, you're gonna draw some parallels from other games that have done it before you.
Yeah. What else? I mean, there's only one real heist type of game out there, and that's the Payday series. Right. So, of course, those... And purchasing weapons, well, that's Counter-Strike, so it's going to be...
Well, and I'm wondering, it seems like you're going to be able to unlock weapons, too, just like, in Battlefield now. At least I would hope you could. But then they're also throwing in this money system, which makes sense to me. Just personally.
Depending on how the game modes work, Counter-Strike works by just round after round you earn money so that you can buy better weapons or whatever. So who knows if it's going to, or more expensive weapons.
Well, yes, that's how it works. But there's also, the way economically, the game has its own economics, like buy rounds, save rounds, what you're doing the first 3 rounds. There are reset money rounds where even if you lose that round, you end up getting more money. Well, at least back in the day. This is older Counter-Strike I'm talking, but...
Yeah. There's that stuff, but some of the menu system things that were shown in the trailer look very Battlefield 4. With the attachments for weapons, all that. You get the standard. You get your scopes, your sights,
gadgets.
You get your attachments. Yeah, you get gadgets. They showed grappling hooks and zip lines,
which looks so fun. I'm just so excited about that already. I'm just like, I want a zip line.
Yeah, actually a lot of the stuff in the trailer looked really good. I showed it to a friend earlier who at first was kind of like, well, it's another Battlefield game. It doesn't really feel like Battlefield. And then you watch the trailer and he was like, this actually is kind of cool. We'll talk a little bit about sort of the community's reaction, I guess, but I still want to talk about the single player because that game is going to have a single player and multiplayer component. And now Visceral is known for being strong at single player, which is good because... The age-old debate of whether or not a multiplayer game like Battlefield, which has traditionally been focused on multiplayer, should have any single-player component. And I quite enjoy single-player stuff like that. This is going to be... What did they talk about? Clearly they have actors.
Yeah, they have some big-name actors from, I think they said, Justified, The Americans, I think one of the guys is from Bones, at least it looks like...
There's quite a few recognizable faces that if you watch TV, you'll see where
do I know that guy from? Yeah.
I don't know who it is, but it's the guy from that show I liked 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the single player is supposed to be sort of new cop, which is the protagonist that you're playing, gets in
Mendoza
with a bunch of corrupt cops and
maybe. Well, he's on the line,
sort of, right?
Which I get with the name Hardline. That's kind of.
Well, that's the other thing. The name was kind of like, what does it mean? But that could be sort of that. But it's supposed to be based sort of like those gritty kind of cop shows that are on TV these days, and there's some really good ones.
It really makes me think of SWAT. The movie SWAT, and then also with Samuel L. Jackson, that movie. Oh gosh, what was it?
Training Day is one of the...
Yes, with Denzel Washington,
Yeah, where they come across this stack of money, and one of them is like, there's only X million of dollars here, and Mendoza is like, shit, what do I do? and there's clearly more on that big pile over there.
Yeah.
But so I actually think the single player could be really enjoyable. There's nothing wrong with having that, and especially when you have sort of this Battlefield 4 is clearly still out. There's still 2 DLCs outstanding, and fall isn't really all that far away.
No.
People were questioning, does this fit in the Battlefield series? Cops and robbers, that's not warfare, that's not all-out Battlefield. But the single player is still a component that it can be a good distraction. It's something different. You know, I wouldn't want another Battlefield. I wouldn't want that same thing again that we played less than a year ago.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want that again right now. And I think people would be really upset if they'd announced like a Battlefield 5. And I think it's important to realize that this is not Battlefield 5. It's not Bad Company 3. It's not 2143. It's a new IP, but underneath that brand name Battlefield, because that's what it's become. It's like
it's part of a franchise. And like I said this on Twitter, like I feel more invested in a game when I do have a single player that I enjoy, or one that I did enjoy, or one that I, you know, really spent a lot of time with and really got into. Mm-hmm. That's just me personally. That's not everyone. Some people could care less about single players and they just want to play the multiplayer. And that's fine. And
vice versa.
Exactly. And I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing someone in who's strong with a single player game, you know, background and throwing them into the multiplayer side too, because I mean,
well, and people are always concerned. So you get somebody that's good at one thing and they're usually lacking at the other. Battlefield 3 multiplayer was really good. The single player was Battlefield 4, it wasn't that great. So there's always that concern, if you do both, are they both going to be just okay, as opposed to just having one and having it be really good? But the other thing that was leaked was that DICE is actually working on the multiplayer for this game. Now, we don't know how much they're working on, if they're sort of assisting or, you know, overseeing or consulting on it, who knows? And it's probably not DICE Stockholm, because they're busy with Battlefront and Mirror's Edge 2, I believe. Could be DICE LA. They have a lot of experience on multiplayer stuff. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing, but there was so much negativity today and yesterday when that first came out, where people are just like saying, I'm already over it. I don't even want to hear about it. This is stupid. It doesn't belong here. I think there's just
already a lot of negativity surrounding the franchise in general right now because of the burn of Battlefield 4. It's still fresh for many people. It's still, you know, there's still problems with that game. So for them, I think like feeling like there's a new Battlefield game, it's just like, why? You know, I think that's probably where those people are coming from. I think it's stupid to form this opinion when you have nothing on the game that we're supposed to be talking about, which is, you know, well, not really supposed to be, but Hardline.
And a lot of that was yesterday before the trailer.
Oh,
when people had even less. They had like some pictures and they were like, nope, fuck this. This is the dumbest thing ever. And I'm just like, wait. I'm not saying it's going to be a great game because, like you said, who knows? We know so little about it. And even when we know more, it's been proven lately that it's wise to wait a little bit.
Well, so I've seen some things on Twitter. This is where a lot of my, like, getting a gauge on what people are thinking about a certain game at the moment. And something I heard someone say was, or saw them say, was that they're going to wait for reviews to come out before they ever think about pre-ordering. First of all, we haven't even heard anything about how pre-ordering is going to go, if there is pre-ordering, how...
Now. It is now. I meant to tell you this.
Okay.
You can pre-order
I've been at work all day. Sorry.
I know.
Like, some of us have jobs.
It's all happening really fast.
Well, it's coming out in the fall. It's kind of going to be fast. I mean, it's the middle of the summer now. We're almost to the end of May. I mean, there's really not much time in the life cycle of a game to do this stuff. So that's not surprising to me that they've said, yeah, we're going to have pre-orders. But to say, well, I'm going to wait for reviews, I think we all learned with Battlefield 4, don't trust the reviews. If you want to pre-order and you're thinking about pre-ordering, I would wait until you can really make an informed decision on your own, not just from reviews. Read some things, read impartial, listen to other people, talk to your friends, get on Twitter. I don't care. if that means like playing the beta at your buddy's house because he pre-ordered, that's fine. But I mean, for me, I want a beta before I pre-order. Yeah, I think that's how it should work. I play beta, I decide, okay, I'm interested in this, I'll pre-order this. Not, I'm going to pre-order to get into a sham of a beta, which is what kind of happened with Battlefield 4.
And that's a sort of a trend, it seems like, that a lot of that happens these days. Yeah, but also, you know, pre-orders in general, I don't want to get too far off tangent here, but there's not that much of a need for it. Like, first of all, you're not going to run out of copies because most of the time now people are buying digital. This will come out on all the platforms again. So at least 3 out of the 5 will be able to buy it, you know, digitally without having to go to a store and worrying that you're going to get your physical disc or whatever on day one.
Right.
So it's not like you can't wait even just one day, because we know a lot of problems pop up literally day one when people start playing.
Right.
And even if you wait one more day and then you buy it then, you can still, like, you don't have to. Anybody that pre-orders right now with the information we have is really committed to it. And it shouldn't be, like, if you're questioning and you're not sure, then wait, there's time. Like, you're not going to run out, and you don't need a stupid keychain or whatever the pre-order bonus is going to be.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, like, that's something I like to play, is find out what all the pre-order bonuses from everywhere else are, and then, you know, if this one comes with a really cool poster that I just, like, am so about, then that's where I'll pre-order from, but...
Yeah. But, you know, there's a lot of time left, and I think the reaction to what little we've seen so far has been... really over the top.
I think it's been blown out of proportion incredibly. Yeah. And for people to say they should have just named it Hardline and it shouldn't be part of the Battlefield series, it's not a Battlefield game. You used the word just a minute ago, tangent. I saw that word on Twitter as well. Like, it should have been off by itself. That's not how a tangent works. A tangent moves in the same direction as a line, not necessarily right next to or right on top of said line. Right. It has points that intersect that, you know, come together, and that's how a tangent works. Not only that, but that's how we get games like Counter-Strike and Day of Defeat. These are Half-Life mods. Granted, it was some guy in his parents' basement living on cigarettes and Mountain Dew, but I mean, that's how we got great games like that lasted forever. People were modding them. People were, you know, taking them on tangents. They were, you know, taking this one game where it started and branching off. And I don't think that necessarily makes this not a Battlefield title or a Battlefield game. To me, it looks like Battlefield. And
it looks like a Battlefield title. And they will have open environments. There's going to be, like, when people say, what's Battlefield? Usually it's the ability to switch from infantry to vehicles to tanks to helicopters, whatever. Like, you know, that's sort of what defines Battlefield. And that's all going to be in this game. When Bad Company first came out, there was a big thing about, okay, that's not Battlefield. It has single player? What the hell's going on? It's only on the consoles? You know, there was a pretty big uproar, especially in the PC community, because they were like, we're not getting this, and this is where Battlefield's going. And when you look at it now, Bad Company 2, I hear over and over and over again.
As people's favorites, Battlefield,
Like, and it wasn't really, it didn't fit the quote-unquote mold of Battlefield back then. Battlefield is a brand name now. I mean, if there's something that uses the same engine, that uses some of the same mechanics, it's going to be called Battlefield whatever.
Right. Well, and it's a marketing strategy on top of everything else. I mean, they want to appeal to their existing market that they have and then also pull in new players because, I mean, that's how you grow.
And it's going to be on Battlelog. So, I mean, it's clearly going to use your Origin stuff. It's going to be just like that. It's really not all that different. And
well,
in the end, it's just a name.
Tied to EA. I mean, Origin and such is all. I mean, so that would make sense on why that is. But
and clearly, it's going to be on Battlelog because that's where they originally found evidence of it. So I don't have a problem with the name. I think Hardline is a little bit of a like, okay, I don't really know what that means yet, but you know, who knows? We'll find out more about what this actually is about. Like the thing that people got to remember, the video that people watched today was 6 months old as well.
Yeah.
So this is the problem when stuff leaks and everybody suddenly forms opinions.
They don't take it into context. They don't, you know what I mean? Like you said, that video is 6 months old and people are saying, oh, it looks terrible. personally, for something that I'm not sure how long they've been actually working on the gameplay and how long it took them to actually, make that promo, which we talked about was probably internal.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be perfectly polished. It doesn't have to be, you want it to be good because you're trying to sell, a boardroom on it.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's for the boardroom. It's not for the public. Yeah. It's not what you would take out to E3 and show.
And I'm sure what we will see at E3 will be something entirely different. Like if, it's going to, not different gameplay wise or whatever, but it's going to be polished. It's going to be it's going to have that wow effect that, that's what E3 is all about. Any game release is all about that. But I think for me personally, I think it would be actually a welcome change. Like I'm thinking one of the issues I've had with Battlefield 4 is that a lot of the stuff, there's just too much of it. Maps are too big. There's too many players. There's too much shit flying around, whatever. And, we know nothing about player size, map size, any of that stuff. But the idea of planning a heist, and I've played Payday 2, which is max, I think, 4 players against AI. And that's a shit ton of fun. Now, if you scale it up a little bit and say make it 8 against 8 or something like that, and you plan a bank heist or some sort of robbery or something, it has more of an objective to it.
Right.
And it's something different.
Feel this being a very good 5v5 game, depending on map size. But the game modes, to me, obviously, a lot of them go back to, like, the parallels we were drawing before with Counter-Strike. There were hostage maps in Counter-Strike, which most of them sucked because the hostages were dumb as shit.
Well, yeah, AI was terrible.
But, and then you also had maps like 747, where it just sounded like you were in a cannon the whole time. It was awful because of the enclosed space. But, to me, it looks like a shit ton of fun. Being able to grab 5v5 and, working out your way, or even 10v10, 2 squads of dudes, like, going after this money, and then you're, trying to fight the police at the same time. Like, how could you not have fun with this game? Who didn't enjoy playing cops and robbers as a kid?
I was gonna say that, and being, chasing somebody, not having to drive a Humvee or a tank, but they're like SUVs and
muscle
Mustang,
cars, like Chargers, cars. Like you saw, like I think a Mustang in the trailer, and you saw all sorts of fun stuff in there. Those SWAT vehicles
look
like a really
cool combination,
absolutely.
And they got little birds in it as well. So it's not, I don't know, Battlefield 4 has issues, and the issues are in the engine, a lot of it. It's not so much the design of it, but it's the Frostbite engine and the netcode and all that stuff. Yeah. That's going to be a factor in this game if it's not changed, yes, but I think that's, we've heard people speculate about the reasoning for that CTE with Battlefield 4 is to basically improve it for future games, more so than actually Battlefield 4. And that could be a factor in this as well, that hopefully some of those issues won't be there. But also if the game modes are different, if you have smaller maps, perhaps smaller player amounts, I don't know. The thing is, I keep going back to this. It's just like, don't make an opinion yet. You don't have enough information to make an informed one. Any opinion you make now, one way or the other, is jumping to conclusions, and frankly, it's juvenile and it's pissing me off. So stop it.
Well, and the other thing is people are talking about, here comes the hype. If you're hyping it one way, which we saw with Battlefield 4, people, oh, it's amazing, oh, it's great, oh, this, and all these, videos and reviews about how amazing the game was, and then we get it, and it's a steaming pile of crap when we get it. If you're hyping the other way, if you're going all out negative just to be negative, and you don't have the information yet, no one does, and you're just hyping negative to do that, you're still hyping. Like, just because it's not positive, it's still hype when you go the negative route. So don't do that either,
No, and we saw some of that with Warfighter, in my opinion, that there was some of it that was just, like, it was destroyed, really. And I've seen small pieces of people putting something down before it's even had a chance to live, like, before it even had a chance to open its eyes and tell the world, like, this is what I am. It's like there's people beating it with a club already, and it's like, it's just a little... fucking, it's not even out of the box. Give it a chance. Like, let's just wait a little bit. But because you're right, hype goes both ways.
And there's nothing wrong with withholding judgment for a little while. Absolutely nothing wrong in being, cautious in your opinion and in your thoughts. And I mean, pick up your brains out of someone else's pocket, put it back in your head, and think for yourselves. That's all I gotta say. Form your own decision, make your own opinion. So much of it
has been said about how people have said, I don't want to pre-order ever again, any of that stuff. It says, well, then don't, wait. Like I said, nothing wrong with it. I think this game has potential. I wouldn't mind, there's been the elephant in the room has always been that EA wants to go to a yearly release cycle for Battlefield, similar to what Call of Duty does. And my personal opinion has always been that's okay as long as it's enough of a change. Like if we had a Battlefield game one year and then something like Bad Company the next, to mix it up, you have that difference. And this is exactly what that is. Like, it's different enough from Battlefield 4, so much that some people don't think it should be called Battlefield. And it's not just another rehash of what we already have. But
right.
It seems...
Well, and that was the other thing I wanted to say was that, people all through this Battlefield 4 Bowl have been, we want something different, we want something different, we want something different. Then they're like, okay, here's something different. Oh, it's not Battlefield. We don't want this. It's not different. Or it's too different. It's different. Right. Now it can't be called Battlefield because it's different. But we want different.
Right.
But not this.
Which is why they haven't done a 2143, because it's too different. And now this is still too different for some people. It's I got to tell you, it's rough being I know people like to beat up on game developers and stuff like that, but it is rough coming up with new IPs. It really is. For one, financially, it's always difficult and a huge risk for companies, which is why a lot of times we get rehashes. And, Assassin's Creed, that series has been going on for years, and pretty much every game is the same as the prior one with just a different story and a different time period. Call of Duty is the exact same thing every year. Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 are pretty much the same thing with, small tweaks, but it's the same game. And I think with this, what they're trying to do is they're trying to do something different enough without doing a completely new IP. That's a huge risk, and still picking a niche that hasn't been overdone by everybody else. Like, it's still modern days, which, let's face it, sells. Mm-hmm. I know people want to see like a World War II Battlefield game again, or even a World War I or something like that. But these companies want to make money, right? And it's the same reason.
There's a lot of games based on those time periods and those situations.
There is.
Now, there's a lot of modern warfare type games,
But that's why Call of Duty, the next one, I forget what it's called, Advanced Warfare or whatever, it's also not really any more modern. It's the same. It's just, they're little baby steps. It's like, let's not rock the boat. And I get that people really want, like, do something fresh. But you know what? If you want something fresh, there's lots of indie games out there, and there is lots of stuff out there. It's just not going to come from EA or Activision or Ubisoft. It's not. I've been playing Watch Dogs. It's Assassin's Creed. Let's not kid ourselves. It's Assassin's Creed in a different skin. It really is. It's a great game, but it's not a new IP. It's nothing revolutionary. And people are praising the shit out of that. Now, granted, if they called it Assassin's Creed Hackers or something like that, people would probably be pissed off that it's not really that. So maybe the naming isn't great, but it's a name. Look past that. It's not going to be in your face. Well, it probably will be on Battlelog, but that's just the way it is.
And like I was saying, it falls under the umbrella. Like, that's where it's coming from. Like, it may not be directly in line with what we've seen before, but it's part of the franchise. Like I said, under the umbrella, it's gonna fall into that label because it sells.
And you're still shooting people. You're still driving vehicles. The single player, I'm glad it's not another like battle, like military type single player. I don't want to play another dude that discovers a nuke, gets framed, and then drives a tank through a desert somewhere, which I swear I've done a couple times. Like, I'd like another Bad Company because that single player had a lot of humor in it, and it was very entertaining. And it was related to sort of TV shows and movies. And this single player looks like it's the other side of TV and movies, which is the drama kind of side. And there's a lot of good potential there. Anybody who's watched, like you said, those movies we mentioned earlier, or True Detective, or The Shield, any of those kind of good shows, I'd love to play them. I'd love to play, what was it, Vince Mackey or whatever the fuck his name was in The Shield? I'd love to play that guy. I want to take the drug dealer's car and drive off and be like, that's my new patrol car. Fuck you. I don't care.
Exactly.
You know, and
I just think it's so open-ended. People just absolutely going. I mean, Twitter was a madhouse yesterday. Yeah. It was absolutely insane. And today was not any better because the video was out today. There were other things coming out today. Ass. Oh man, it was like, here's more grease for that fire. Like, my Lord, it just went insane. So, and don't get me wrong, I was out there pushing buttons with the best of them. You know, I was making comments like everybody else, but it wasn't directed at the game itself. It was just at the situation of, you know, the just absolute freaking mess that it was yesterday.
It's so funny to watch because some people are so starved for news, and those people are people who make YouTube videos, and they'll find a nugget, they'll find that picture on Battlelog, and videos explode all over the fucking place. And some people eat it up and they're like, oh my God, it's new stuff. More, give me more. Mm-hmm. And then there are other people, it's like, oh my God, this is the 57,000th gameplay trailer analysis video I've seen. So, and you get a good mix of that on Twitter for the most part, which is nice. And that's why we wanted to not talk about what's in the trailer specifically, because there's
not really. I mean, there, yes, we've mentioned it to, you know,
just to support like what this thing is about. And
right. And we're not sitting here trying to come at you like, oh, this is our exclusive news on Hardline. No, this is just our opinions and what we think about it. And honestly, you know...
well, there'll be more to come of that. I mean, come E3 and we get some more details as to what's actually involved. That will help a lot. And I think it will hopefully calm down some people, even though it will probably just fire up others some more. But... I don't know. I guess my bottom line is the good news is we're getting a new game this fall.
Yeah.
And it has potential to be good. It has potential to be interesting. It has potential to fail because we all know where it's coming from and what's underneath the hood kind of thing. And we've all had bad experiences with Battlefield 4. So I get why people are guarded. But, you know, wait. Give it a chance. It's way too early for you to make up your mind one way or the other. Just sit back and kind of just like take it in and see what's coming.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with being guarded or cautious, but, you know, at the same time, give it a fair shot.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments what you think of it. And this might, you know, that could be an interesting discussion in the comments there as well. But
don't hate us.
No, but that's the point of it. You may disagree. If you have strong feelings, then that's fine.
And you're perfectly welcome to disagree with me. In fact, I, you know, love a good debate or love, you know, an opinion that's different from mine. That's A, how I learn, and B, how, you know, you find out other things or, you know, get to know people or whatever. So yeah, either way, let us know, because I'm curious as to what other people thought of the hype going on and just the reaction, the drama. Yeah. It was
it's a little bit too much.
It was pretty entertaining for me.
Yeah, it made me feel very old for some reason. But with that said, so I mean, really, June 9th is only just over a week. It's like a week and a half away. It's on a Monday, so it's not this Monday, but the one after that. So we're close to finding out more. Let's give Visceral and EA a chance to actually introduce what they're working on, instead of having to basically put out the fire of all these leaks that happen, which is unfortunate for them, but...
You know, and I want them to impress me. I want them to knock my socks off. I want them to go all out and just, you know, say, sit down, shut up, here it is, you know, you're gonna like it, and I want it to be awesome. But that was, I mean, I wanted that for Battlefield 4 too, and I mean, it sucks that this is what came of that, but I mean...
Well, and they gave it a good shot then too, and that's the thing that we learned from that, is that no matter how cool it looks when you first see it, to your point earlier, until you've actually had a chance to hands-on play it, it doesn't really mean anything, because everybody can make a really cool trailer and talk big words. But
yep.
So we'll see how that goes, and we'll follow up on that, I'm sure, and we'll be back to sort of more regular his and hers very soon, and hopefully you'll tune in for that. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.